Fox News claims that they can't understand what this whole, Islamophobia is. They never heard of it, and they think it doesn't exist at all. Like, people that are going after Muslims in this country, nobody's going after them. Now, we compiled an amazing number of comments from Fox News saying that same idea. Now, a lot of these were after Donald Trump proposed a complete and total ban on Muslims in the country. Nonetheless, Fox News said this.
Now, the president and Hillary Clinton are telling everyone to be careful about what they say.
The president urging Americans not to succumb to Islamophobia in the wake of the massacre in California carried out by Islamic extremists. But it turns out Muslim hate crimes not as big an issue as the White House would make you to believe.
You know, in America, we have not taken action against the Muslim people. Not at all.
Islamophobia is really nothing but a myth.
There really isn't any evidence that Muslims are being mistreated in the USA.
So I don't know exactly what they're referring to, that they're trying to create a controversy where there is none.
So it's not a huge problem in the U.S.
And I'm saying to myself, there hasn't been any anti-Muslim stuff to speak of.
Let me know if you see any Muslim backlash. I haven't seen a lot of it.
If you were watching this anywhere around the planet, you would have concluded that the President of the United States thought the principal security threat was his own bigoted and racist people.
Brian, he always is trying to find victimhood status for various groups, and in this case, Muslim Americans.
Yeah, but they're just assuming horrible facts, not in evidence, and actions on behalf of the American people, saying, I mean, who's vilifying any of the Muslims? Who's doing that?
But what the president and the administration's failing to do is failing to realize that at home, there is no issue here. There is no hate against Muslims.
So when there's a big pile of corpses in a western city, the real victims are the poor Muslims because someone might look at them funny on the bus on the way to work the following morning.
We have been tolerant of all religions.
You know, we are a welcoming country. Middle East Americans have been coming to the United States for 125 years and relatively incident-free.
America has been more tolerant, despite these attacks, than anyone would think.
We have been tremendously restrained in the United States after 9/11.
59% of the hate crimes anti-Semitic, 14% anti-Islamic. Important. And 62.4% of victims of hate speech, do you know who they are? They're Jewish Americans. It's only 11.6% that have an anti-Muslim bias.
Hate crimes motivated by religious bias accounted for about 1,000 offenses. Religious hate crimes, about 19% of all hate crimes. And a breakdown of those, 58% of those were directed at Jews. Only 16% were directed at Muslims.
1,140 religious hate crimes were reported in the USA, all hate crimes. 16% against Muslims, 57% against Jews.
He's building this fear base and really absolutely just disregarding completely 5 million Jews in the United States and their security and safety.
Okay, first of all, you know who talks about anti-Semitic hate crime? Probably more than any other show. Us. Now, you want to know why Fox News doesn't talk about it? Because it's done almost exclusively by right-wing hate groups. So they will come out, and we just had 2 segments on it last week. Guys attacking, saying, we got to go get the blacks and the Jews. And they do it again and again. There was, of course, the attack in Kansas City, in Kansas, I should say, in the community center. There was the attack against the museum, and we cover it all the time. They don't cover it because it comes from the right wing. Now, that is one way to deflect the issue. Does that mean because there's anti-Semitic hate crime in America that there's not anti-Muslim hate crime in America? Well, they showed you the stats where that it does exist, and then they say there's no such thing. Anti-Muslim actions in America, I don't know what you're talking about. Kimberly Guilfoyle said, who is vilifying the Muslims? Juan Williams, we didn't include it here, on that same show said, Donald Trump just came out and said he's going to ban all Muslims from the country. That would be vilifying them. I mean, it's absurd. Let alone Todd Starnes, who's another Fox News commentator, on Facebook said Donald Trump is right and, quote, better to vet them over there before they blow something up over here. Saying, don't let the Muslims in the country anymore. What anti-Muslim action? I don't know what you're talking about. Speaking of anti-Muslim action, today, one of the 2 Muslim congressmen in the country, Andre Carson, said he got a death threat yesterday in his office. What anti-Muslim action? I don't know what you're talking about. Let's keep going on that front. In Philadelphia police and the FBI are investigating the discovery of a desiccated, severed pig's head outside a local mosque, according to NBC 10 there, the local affiliate, and they reported that on Monday. The manager of the Al-Aqsa Islamic Society, Nabil Khalil, told police that he found the head on the steps of the mosque when he arrived for Monday morning prayers. According to NBC, the surveillance video showed it being thrown at the building from the window of a red pickup truck in the pre-dawn hours. Anti-Muslim actions, I don't know anything about that. And an anonymous man had called that same mosque a couple of weeks ago after the Paris attack saying, "I hope you people are happy about what you did in Paris. I just like to state for the record that Allah is a piece of pork shit." What anti-Muslim actions? I don't know what you're talking about. And then there's a girl in the Bronx. According to a report, it said that the boys at the school had grabbed this girl, who was a 6th grade girl, and called her ISIS. Then she was allegedly placed in a headlock and punched while the boys tried to rip her hijab off. And by the way, I'm only giving you the stories from the last 2 days. We've given you dozens of stories before against crimes against Muslims, attacks against Muslims, and murder against Sikhs just because they were confused for being Muslim. What anti-Muslim action? I don't know what you're talking about. It's all made up according to Fox News. Man, they got some balls on them. They are world record liars. And finally, a last ironic piece here. According to ABC News, Dr. Bilal Rana is an anesthesiologist who was returning home to Houston after a conference in New Jersey when he was taken into custody and interrogated. Now let's find out why. Rana, who is the president of Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, a youth group that seeks to prevent Muslim teens from embracing radicalism, said that he believes another passenger profiled him based on his appearance and acted out of fear. Flight crew deactivated the wireless internet on his flight from Newark, and he was greeted by the FBI on landing. So here's a guy who has made it a point to make sure that Muslims do not get radicalized. It doesn't matter. You look Muslim. We're afraid of you. We're profiling you. Trump's got our back. And when the plane lands, you get escorted from the plane and humiliated. And he wrote about that. And he's like, look, I know the cops do good work, and I know they got to investigate leads that they were told about from somebody on the plane. And he's trying desperately not to blame him. But he said, at the same time, try to understand what I went through. And here's what he wrote. I hope you never know what it feels like to have a group of police officers single you out. I hope you never know what it is like to be frisked while standing in front of a plane full of passengers. I hope you never suffer the embarrassment of watching mothers hold their children tightly as you walk by them. I hope you never feel the humiliation of having your belongings confiscated out of your hands or being surrounded by cops who refer to you as the subject on their walkie-talkies. I hope you never have to, for the first time in your life, sit in the back of a police car. I hope you get a chance to explain who you are before you are judged. I'm not your enemy. I'm your biggest ally. But people don't see it that way anymore, or a lot of people in this country. And some politicians have given them license. Nah, don't worry about the distinction between radical Muslims, fundamentalist Muslims, or all Muslims. Profile them all. All of a sudden, it's incredibly real. Except to Fox News, who says, I see no evil, I hear no evil. Well, they do speak a lot of evil. But they trick their audience into thinking, there's no anti-Muslim bias in the country at all. Everything's fine, just keep going along. And if you see a Muslim, make sure you report him.